Disclaimer: the following story explores mature emotional themes including trust, friendship, and personal vulnerability. It does not contain explicit material. Viewer discretion is advised. It started with a knock at the door, familiar, fast, and impatient. I hadn't seen Jamie in almost a year. Work, relationships, life, we'd both been buried in it. But when she texted me 2 days ago, asking if she could come crash at my place for the weekend, no explanations, just, I need to get away, I didn't hesitate. We'd been best friends since college. Thick and thin, parties and heartbreaks, road trips and ugly sobfests. She was the one person who'd seen every version of me and never flinched. And I thought I knew everything about her too. I swung open the door and there she was, same fierce eyes, oversized hoodie, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, and that nervous half-smile she only wore when something was off. "Hey," she said, like no time had passed. "Hey yourself," I replied, stepping aside to let her in. Jamie is the kind of person who fills a room just by being in it. Even when she's quiet, you can feel her wheels turning. She flopped onto my couch like she'd lived here yesterday and kicked off her shoes without a word. I didn't press her. Not yet. I figured the reason for her visit would come out eventually. We ordered Thai food, put on a random crime doc in the background, and eased back into our usual rhythm: jokes, side-eyes, half-finished stories. But there was a weight behind her smile I couldn't shake. Something was sitting on her chest, and it wasn't just jet lag or bad pad thai. By 11 p.m., the air in the apartment felt different. Heavier. Quieter. Jamie was nursing her third glass of wine, curled up on the corner of the couch, staring at nothing. "You want to tell me what's going on?" I finally asked. She didn't answer right away. Just turned the wine glass in her hand and gave this small, tired laugh. "You ever feel like you're not sure who someone really is? Like, you wake up one day and realize they've been playing a part this whole time." "Yeah," I said slowly. "You talking about someone specific?" Jamie looked up at me then, eyes red, voice low. "I found something. On Nate's phone. A message. From someone named E. And it wasn't just one. Nate was her boyfriend, or, I guess, had been. She hadn't mentioned a breakup. But that name, E, meant nothing to me. And I could tell by the way she said it that it meant way too much to her. She kept talking, almost too calmly. About the messages, the receipts that didn't match, the gaslighting, the paranoia that started eating at her. The night she finally confronted him. The silence. And the one thing she hadn't told anyone, not even her sister. But before she said it, something changed. Her face froze, eyes locked on the hallway. I turned my head just in time to see the front door, which I'd locked, slowly creaking open. I stood up instantly, heart pounding. "Did you tell anyone you were coming here?" Jamie didn't answer. She just stood too, backing toward the kitchen. Her voice barely above a whisper. "I think someone followed me." I rushed to the door and pushed it shut with my full weight, then slid the deadbolt into place. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Jamie stood frozen by the kitchen island, eyes wide, gripping the edge of the counter. "No one should know you're here, right?" I asked, barely hiding the edge in my voice. She shook her head slowly. "No, I didn't tell anyone." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the way she said it, hesitant, unsure, set something off in me. I'd known Jamie for over a decade. I'd seen her at her best and absolute worst. But this version of her? This wasn't someone I recognized. I checked the peephole, nothing. The hallway was empty. I double-checked the lock again anyway. Back in the living room, Jamie had sunk onto the floor, arms wrapped tightly around her knees. Her voice was small, almost distant. "I didn't mean to drag you into this." "You didn't," I said, sitting down next to her. "But you need to tell me everything. Start from the beginning." She hesitated, then took a breath. "I met Nate 2 years ago at a friend's party. He was smart, low-key, said all the right things without trying too hard. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe with someone." Her eyes flicked to me briefly. "You were with Matt then. We kinda disappeared into our own worlds, you know." I nodded. It was true. Our calls had gone from daily to monthly. Life happened. But something about how she said it made me feel like she was holding back more than just a story about a bad boyfriend. I thought Nate was the one, she continued. He made everything feel easy, until last month. Things changed. He got cold. Secretive. Started locking his phone. I asked questions and suddenly I was too paranoid or controlling. But I knew something was off. Then she reached into her duffel bag and pulled out a small USB stick. I backed up his messages. Before I left, "You what?" I know it sounds crazy, but I needed proof. For myself. I took the USB and stared at it. She was right, it was crazy. But in that moment, all I could think was, what the hell was on this thing that made her think she had to run? "I haven't plugged it into anything yet," Jamie whispered. I couldn't. "I'm scared of what I'll find." Her voice cracked on that last word, and I looked at her, really looked at her. Beneath the tough exterior was someone unraveling. The same girl who once stayed up all night with me after my mom's funeral. The one who'd held me together more than once. Now it was my turn. "Whatever's on here, we'll deal with it together." She leaned into me, forehead against my shoulder, and I could feel her shaking. But before I could say anything else, the lights flickered. Once, then again. And then, click, the power cut out completely. We sat there in the dark, not moving, not breathing. From the hallway, behind the door, there was a soft tap. Once, twice, then silence. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The sudden beam felt like a lifeline in the darkness. Jamie stayed still, barely breathing, her eyes fixed on the door like it might swing open any second. "Stay here," I whispered. She shook her head instantly, reaching for my arm. "No way. I'm not staying in here alone." We moved together, step by step, toward the door. I looked through the peephole again. Still nothing. Then my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I stared at the screen, heartbeat hammering. Jamie leaned in. "Don't answer it," she said quickly, but I already had. I didn't speak. Just listened. At first, there was only static. Then, barely audible, a voice, "You shouldn't have taken it." My blood ran cold. The line cut. The screen went black. Jamie backed up fast, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. "They know." "Who's they, Jamie?" I asked too loud, panic creeping in. "You said this was about Nate. What are you telling me?" She looked away, jaw clenched. "I didn't just take the messages. I copied everything. Files. Names. Stuff I wasn't supposed to see. He left his laptop open one night. It was like he wanted me to find it. What was on it? I don't know everything. But it's not just cheating. There were encrypted folders, emails to people I've never heard of. Some of them were government addresses, private companies. I think he's involved in something big. This was officially past anything I was prepared for. Jamie, this sounds serious. Like, dangerous. I know. Why come here? Why not go to the police? I tried. I sent an anonymous tip to a reporter. The next day, someone followed me home. I found my bedroom window cracked open. That's when I knew I had to get out. Suddenly, everything shifted. This wasn't just a relationship gone bad. She'd stumbled into something, and now she'd brought it with her. Just then, a sharp knock rattled the door. Not loud, just certain. Not a neighbor. Not a drunk. Whoever was out there knew exactly what they were doing. My phone lit up again, text from unknown. Last chance. I felt sick. Jamie had turned pale. We backed away from the door and headed to the bedroom. I shut the door, locked it, and turned on the lamp. I needed a plan. Fast. "Do you have a copy of what's on the USB anywhere else?" "No," she said. "Just that." I opened my laptop, slid the USB in. It whirred. Folders popped up. One labeled Eclipse. Another marked MX 127. Encrypted files, gibberish names, a hidden folder I had to unhide manually. Inside, video clips. Surveillance. Some clearly in public places. But one was of Jamie. She gasped when she saw it. It was her in her old apartment. Alone. Cooking. Walking around. Changing. Someone had been watching her for a while. That was when it hit me. This wasn't just about her anymore. By letting her in, by opening that USB, I'd stepped straight into it too. And whatever it was, we were already too deep to walk away. Jamie stared at the video on my laptop screen like she couldn't breathe. "That's my old apartment," she said, barely above a whisper. How did they even get this footage? She didn't need to ask. The implication was clear: Nate. Or whoever Nate was really working for. My mind raced. This was surveillance-grade stuff. Not a hidden iPhone under a pillow. This was planned, professional. Layers of encryption. Folders labeled in code. They'd been watching her long before she ever found the messages. And now they knew she had the files. Worse, they knew she was here. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo. It was the outside of my building. Taken tonight. I turned the screen to her and she broke. "I thought I was being careful," she said, her voice cracking. "I used burner emails. I didn't even take the same route twice. I don't know how they found me. I did. The second she plugged into my Wi-Fi, they probably traced it. If this was what it looked like, something covert, something buried, they had ways." I stood, suddenly pacing. "We can't stay here. We have to go. Now." Jamie didn't move. "What if we can't outrun this?" she asked. "What if this is already too big?" I crouched in front of her, grabbed her hands. "Then we make it public. You said you sent a tip to a reporter, right? Did they respond?" She hesitated. "A woman named Devon. She asked for proof." I panicked. "I never sent anything back." "Then that's our play," I said. "We don't hide. We blow it up." I pulled out my phone and opened my email, ready to send everything, every video, every file to this Devon person. Jamie leaned over, watching me type. We were 2 keystrokes away from sending it all. Then the lights came back on. Both of us jumped. At first, it felt like relief. But then we noticed it was only the bedroom lights. Not the rest of the apartment. Not the hallway. Just this one room. Someone had access to the electrical system. Then, the door handle rattled. I froze. A second later, the doorknob turned. Locked, but not reinforced. Jamie stood, back pressed to the wall, eyes locked on me. "Bathroom window," I whispered. "It's the only way out. It's too small. You've lost weight." She almost laughed, but didn't. I grabbed the laptop, jammed the USB back in my pocket, and we ran for the bathroom. Behind us, a loud crack. The bedroom door splintered. We slammed the bathroom door shut, locked it, shoved the towel rack under the handle. "Go," I told her. "You go first." She climbed up on the counter, pried open the small window. It was barely big enough for her to squeeze through, but she pushed herself up, legs dangling out. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Close. Inside the apartment now. I could hear drawers being yanked open, the sound of glass shattering. Jamie disappeared out the window. I turned back just in time to see the bathroom door shift. The towel rack groaned. One more hit, and it would snap. I looked at the window, then at the door. And I knew I might not make it out. The door finally gave in. I dove toward the window as the towel rack crashed to the tile floor. My ribs scraped against the frame as I forced my way through. I hit the ground outside hard, dirt, gravel, and pain. Jamie was already up, pulling me by the arm. "Run," she shouted. We didn't look back. We ran through the alley behind my building, barefoot, breathless, ducking behind trash bins, through a gap in the fence that led to a residential street. My lungs burned. My legs barely worked. But we didn't stop until we reached the park 3 blocks away. We collapsed under a line of hedges, hidden in the dark. "I sent the files," I panted. "To Devon. Everything." Jamie nodded, trying to catch her breath. Then we just wait. We didn't speak for a while. Just sat in silence, hands scraped, adrenaline still high, listening for anything: cars, footsteps, sirens. Then my phone buzzed again. Not Devon. It was from Nate. A video message. I hesitated. Jamie leaned closer, eyes locked on the screen. I pressed play. The video showed a hotel hallway. Room 304. The door opened. Inside, Devon. She was standing in front of a laptop, reviewing our files. Then Nate walked into the frame. My stomach dropped. Jamie blinked, confused. What the hell is this? The video continued. Nate leaned in, spoke to Devon quietly, then turned and looked directly at the camera. Like he knew we'd be watching. Now we're all caught up, he said in the video, smiling. You were never ahead. The screen went black. Jamie was shaking. No. That can't be Devon? She was the only person I trusted. She was never on our side, I said. This was a trap. I opened my email again. The files, gone. The sent message? Deleted. The USB? Still in my pocket, but that didn't matter now. They had everything. I don't get it, Jamie said, voice hollow. Why go through all of this? Why pretend to be a whistleblower contact just to get the files back? I stared at her. The answer came slowly, like ice in my veins. They never wanted to hide the information, I said. They wanted to know who leaked it. You were the test. They created the Devon identity to see if anyone would take the bait. Jamie's mouth opened, but no words came out. They didn't care about the data. They cared about you. Which meant they were never after the USB. They were after you. And now they know everything. Jamie backed away from me, like she suddenly couldn't trust even me anymore. You think I led them to you? I don't know what to think anymore, I said. The truth hit like a freight train. Everything from the beginning, her arrival, the break-in, the USB, the emails, it was never random. It was engineered. A setup. A test of loyalty. But there was one thing they didn't expect. Jamie still had a backup copy. One she never told anyone about. She looked at me, the tiniest bit of defiance back in her eyes. They still don't have the full files, she said. I blinked. What? I made a second copy. Physical. Printed. Hidden. Where? Jamie looked at me, dead serious. Somewhere only you would think to look. We didn't sleep that night. Instead, we moved. Carefully. Quietly. From street to street, avoiding cameras, alleys, and people. Our destination. The place where Jamie hid the printed files. She wouldn't tell me where until we were close, in case I got caught. We finally stopped in front of a tiny public library. One I hadn't visited since college. On the outside, it looked abandoned. Flickering street lamp, broken bench, peeling brick. Inside, it was still intact. Jamie led me to the basement. The old archives room. I used to come here when I was younger, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Before I met Nate. It was the only place I ever felt invisible. She walked to the back wall and reached behind a loose ceiling panel. From inside, she pulled out an old manila envelope. It was thick. She handed it to me. Inside were printed screenshots, transcripts, surveillance stills, even a few physical documents. Names, dates, account numbers. It was all here. Real evidence. And more dangerous than ever. We have to go public now, I said. No reporters. No emails. No middlemen. Jamie nodded. We upload everything. Post it. Send it everywhere. All at once. So we did. We found a 24-hour print shop with Wi-Fi, logged in through a secure VPN, and started uploading. We sent the files to every public archive we could think of. Independent journalists. Whistleblower forums. Social media accounts known for exposing classified leaks. We didn't stop until the last file was sent. Then we ran again, this time not out of fear, but out of instinct. It wasn't over. Not yet. By dawn, it was everywhere. News feeds exploded. Anonymous whistleblower exposes covert surveillance network. Private contractor linked to illegal monitoring program. The photos, the names, Nate's name, they were all there. It was working. The world was watching. But as we stood outside the train station, watching the headlines unfold, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were still being watched. Jamie leaned against the wall, exhausted, but relieved. We did it, she said, more to herself than to me. That's when the black SUV pulled up. It didn't screech or swerve. Just stopped. Quietly. The back door opened. A man stepped out. Suit. Earpiece. No badge. I stepped in front of Jamie. He didn't say a word. Just handed me a phone. I answered it. Nicely done, a voice said on the other end. Calm. Almost amused. You're braver than we expected. Unfortunately, bravery doesn't change what you've seen. Who is this? I asked. There was a pause. Consider this your one and only warning, the voice said. You did well. But you don't want to keep playing this game. The call ended. The man took the phone back and returned to the SUV. It pulled away like nothing happened. Jamie looked at me. Was that a threat or a compliment? I didn't know. Maybe both. But something told me we'd only exposed a piece of the truth, just enough to spark panic, without actually burning it all down. We stood there for a long time, watching the city come alive around us. We weren't safe, but we were seen. And maybe for now, that was enough. We didn't see each other for a while after that morning at the train station. Jamie left the city with nothing but a backpack and a burner phone. I didn't ask where she was going, and she didn't tell me. We both knew it was safer that way. I went back to my apartment, or what was left of it. The door still splintered. The bathroom window still open. Every drawer flipped, every trace of normal life overturned. But I wasn't scared anymore. Because the story was out. Within days, the leak dominated headlines. News anchors argued about accountability. Politicians demanded investigations. Protesters held signs with phrases from the leaked files. People were paying attention. And while some dismissed it as conspiracy noise, most couldn't ignore the sheer volume of it. It wasn't just Jamie's files, it was the pattern they revealed. Surveillance. Manipulation. Silence bought with fear. Nate disappeared. Completely. I never heard his name in the news. Not once. Which told me everything I needed to know. He had power. Enough to stay invisible. But even power has its limits when people stop being afraid. One night, weeks later, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo. Jamie smiling, standing in front of a rural clinic somewhere far from here. Helping people. Building something real. Something safe. On the back, she'd written, "Not hiding. Just healing. Thank you for helping me survive." I cried. Not out of fear or regret, but something like peace. Because we hadn't just exposed a system. We'd reclaimed something. Our choices. Our voices. Our friendship. Sometimes the truth doesn't change the world overnight. Sometimes it just keeps someone alive long enough to change it themselves. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's this. Silence is safe, but truth is powerful. And power, real power, doesn't come from systems or secrets. It comes from people who refuse to stay quiet. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one.